Beautiful faces, welcome back to Let's Talk About It with Sunny Mo. Today we're tackling a subject that's not just about one man, but about the culture of division and hate that continues to fester in America. We're talking about Charlie Kirk. I know you guys are seeing and hearing a lot that happened with the shooting, which he was killed on September 10th. Today is September 11th. It is about his rhetoric, the impact it's had on this country, and how it connects to the deeper problem of anger and the race and gun violence that we face or that we're dealing with in America. If you're not familiar with who Charlie Kirk is, he was and what he represented. He is he was a founder of the Turning Point USA, a conservative activist organization, which is what Turning Point USA is, where he was targeting young people, mainly young white people who were either in high school, but mainly college students. And then these were all white colleges that he would go on campus and talk about all of his views of what America needs to do to turn the way America has been turning, and with the immigrants and women and black people and Latin people or anybody other than non-white people. His brand was built on strong conservative talking points, but it also inflamed rhetoric that often belittled women, people of color, and anyone who challenged his views. That's where his debates were coming in at. And instead of creating dialogue, his approach was to often mock or dismiss and dehumanize whoever he's debating with or whoever he's having a conversation with about these views. Reports from his events also have described him even lashing out at his audience members, because I've seen videos of him getting upset with an Asian person who countered what he was saying. They didn't agree to his rhetoric, and so he got mad with the Asian guy, started calling him a chink and saying all these racial slurs. And then the two guys that was on stage, they didn't even try to stop him. They was trying to tell the person in the audience to stop. And that lets me know that people, mainly white men in America, they're okay with this type of behavior. He was spewing off racial slurs, not just in his events or someone else's event or as a speaker or whatever. He spewed this off if you don't agree, or if you dare to disagree to what his political views were or whatever his views were. This wasn't about a civil debate at all. It is about domination, shaming, and fueling division. And you know me, I call it the triple D's. That's devalue, divide, and destroy. What he stand on when it comes to women, people of color, and gun reform, he always pushed against women's reproductive rights. Like, he's telling women what they can and cannot do with their bodies. And I don't understand how women marry men like this. I don't understand it. Not only do they marry men like this, they have kids with men like this. He pushes this agenda about women, reproductive rights, reducing complex issues into sound bites when he posts on social media. And it's to shame women rather than respect our anatomy. Like, why is he trying to dictate what women should and should not do with their bodies? When it came to people of color, his messaging often painted black people mainly, because I know when we say people of color, we're talking about people of color of a whole that's non-white, but mainly black people. He's often painting black Americans mainly as the problem. Stereotypes instead of a solution. It's always a stereotype, like he's fueling stereotypes when it comes to black Americans instead of coming up with a solution. And let's not talk about gun violence or the issues on gun reform. He actually embraced the idea that more guns equal more freedom, even while American streets and even the schools are filled with deaths and red of blood because of these mass shootings that's going on in this country. His words emboldened anger, not healing. And this type of rhetoric repeated over and over, what it does, it normalizes hate. It perpetuates it. It makes people believe that this is what we need to do in order for them to feel like we need to get our country back. So we're going to normalize this type of rhetoric and this type of hate. The impact of his rhetoric on division and hate. Let's talk about this type of language. It doesn't just stay on social media. It doesn't stay on stage. It doesn't stay on video. It spreads. It spreads like a virus. It spreads like a plague. And what it does, it amplifies anger and it creates this heated anger within his supporters. And then it pushes others further into fear and resentment, like those who don't agree with what he says. They're getting angry because of what he's saying, but then his supporters are cheering him on, clapping. They're all wearing their red MAGA hats, Make America Great Again hats. And so this is what he's doing. He's grooming these young people's mind from high school, maybe juniors, seniors, all the way up to college students with all of this fear mongering and hatred. And you've seen, all of us, we've seen how words can become weapons and how speeches can ignite violence, because Peter Pumpkin Eater, and you all know who I mean when I say Peter Pumpkin Eater, because that's the one who's cosplaying as president right now. He has done that throughout every campaign. Every campaign, he pushes out fear in his speeches, and he uses his speeches as weapons, and people tend to gravitate to it because not only is it something that draws them to it, it's something that they tend to start believing. If they keep hearing you say the same thing over and over and over, and all you're doing is saying things negative, things of violence and hate, sometimes, or all the time, majority of the time, people are going to believe it. America's a living proof that when leaders feed hate like this, it grows. If you feed the seed of hate, it is going to grow. And Charlie Kirk was one of many who chose to pour fuel and then light that fire with hate. Everything. I wasn't a follower of him, but I would come across a lot of his videos and I would come across a lot of his debates. And he was not really a nice guy. I'm sorry. He was not a nice guy. The things that he said about Black people, and majority of his comments were always about Black people. Always. And I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about what is the issue with white men in America and why they're so angry and why they hate Black men, Black American men, so much to the point where they can't control themselves. They can't. Why are white men so angry? I want to talk about that right now. Why are they so angry? Because this raises a question that's really deep, and it becomes to the point where you got to start questioning their mental state, their mindset. It is a deep question as to why white men are so angry. Why are so many white men in America so obsessively angry at everyone who isn't like them? Mainly Black American men. Black American men. Black women are hated by default, but it's Black American men are so hated by them, they can't even tell you why. They'll repeat something that they were told, that they're robbers, they're thieves, they're stealers, they're criminals, they're rapists, they're lazy, they're this, they're that. That's not giving me a reason. That's not giving me a reason. You have to have a real reason of why you hate Black American men, white men. Is it fear of losing power? Because I'm doing my research on this on my own. I'm doing my own diving deep to find out what is going on. And I recommend you all to do your own due diligence to find out what is going on with white men in America. And I don't want to say white men in America. I want to say white men, period. Point blank, period. I know the young people say period, but Gen X, we say point blank, period. What is the problem? Now, I know for a very long time, white men have been in power for a very long time post the Moors, which was an African nation, tribe, that Black people that controlled Europe and other places on this planet. But since that empire was depleted and disappeared, then Europeans, here they are, and they migrated from Europe to America and came over here and started doing what they do. And here we are, 2025. They are still in power. So what is it? Is it fear of losing power? Is it resentment of equality? Because you don't want anybody to have the same equal of lifestyle of living than you? And if you do the research and if you do the math to know who is actually living, I want to say, not so well in America or living poor, if you do the research, you'll see what the percentage is and who. It's not black people. It really isn't. It is a lot of white people that are struggling. A lot of them are struggling. Is it resentment of unresolved trauma that some of you all may have dealt with in your childhood? A mental health crisis that we haven't named yet that is going on with white men in America? I know I said all white men, but we're going to talk about the white men only right now in America. What is the issue here? Because when anger becomes obsession, I mean, obsession to the point where you hate somebody so much that you don't care what you do to destroy that person, devalue, divide, and then destroy. You don't care what you do. It turns into violence against women, against people of color, against immigrants, against LGBTQ communities, against anybody that's not like them. And it's not just politics anymore. We got to get rid of that whole dynamics and narrative that is politics. No, it's not politics anymore. It is becoming to be a sickness. And it is becoming to be a sickness of the soul, in the hearts, in the mind, in the mindset, in the emotions. It's something that requires not just from, policy reform, but this is really deep. It's psychological reckoning that we need to really understand and find out what is happening. What is happening? Because white men in America has been in control and in power for so long. It could be that they fear of losing power because they have been for so long and they have always felt like they are superior to everyone. So that's why when these other people come to this country that are non-white, they try to assimilate to be like them so that they could be a part of that. It doesn't matter what you do to try to be a part of that group. They're not going to accept you. They're not. It is always going to be until the Most High himself come down and change this. Not even come down, because the Most High is here. Until the Most High open up the earth and change this, it is always going to be a stoic, white, old man in an ugly suit that is trying to control the world. It is always going to be old white men, old stoic white men in an ugly suit, always trying to be in control. America can't heal. We're never going to heal. Here we are, 2025, and we're still going through the same thing. It's like you being in a relationship with a person and that person keep telling you, I'm sorry, I won't hit you again. Babe, I'm sorry, I won't hit you again. I won't do it again. Boop, hit you right after he said that in the same conversation. Babe, I won't hit you again. I promise I won't hit you again. I was going through something. Boop, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. You have to get to the root of the cause, America. And this that we're doing right now is not working. We can't heal if we don't address the root of this obsessive hate, the obsessive rage that white men, that they have. And it stems from childhood. It stems from their environment. It stems from their upbringing. We need a cleanse. America needs a cleanse, not just from gun violence, not just from these fake policies they try to be put together in these big beautiful bills that doesn't apply to anybody, that doesn't have thousands of zeros next to the number one in their bank account. And no, we need a real cleanse. The cleanse that we need is the poison of hate. Hate is the common denominator that has been going on in this country for centuries, way before any of us was born. And it just keeps repeating because it is not being dealt with. Hate is a behavior that is not going to change on its own. Hate is a behavior that will continue if it is rewarded. Hate is a behavior that will continue if it's ignored. Okay? We have to cleanse the poison of hate, and it has been allowed to fester for generations and centuries. We need to change this tone of rhetoric because it has divided this country wholeheartedly. We need to demand accountability from these politicians who spread hate. We need to demand accountability for these so-called political activists and political commentators, the media, some social media podcasts that puts out all this hate. It's okay to create a platform where you want to get your point across about certain things that you don't agree with in the country, about certain things you don't agree with in the world. You have the right to do that. But it's how you do it. It's how you put it out there. If you're constantly putting out a fire of hate and you're constantly telling people about the black people, the DEI, the abortion, no, you're not doing that. I control your bodies. Black people don't know what they're doing. Black people, they're criminals. They're born criminals. They're going to always be criminals. The LGBTQ, they're crazy. All of this stuff is making other people afraid of the people that you're saying this false narrative about. That is why when white people see a black man on an elevator, and this happened to my brother and my husband, they could be dressed in a suit and they would still get racially profiled. No matter what side of any of these political spectrums they're on, or any of these left wing, right wing, all this mess, it sounds like a game, and y'all need to understand what it sounds like. And we really need to stop. We're too old and too grown to be carrying on the way we are. You cannot say anything to these young people out here when they do things and you want to say they're breaking the law. You can't say anything to them because you're not setting an example. We need to look into the mirror and ask, how do we break this cycle of anger and destruction before it consumes all of us? How do we do that? And that is something that we need to do. Because if we don't do this, and we don't do this yesterday, America's empire is going to be over. It's going to be over. The government is done. Nobody believes it. Nobody trusts it. Nobody cares. It's over. The American government is done. Charlie Kirk's story isn't just about him. It's not about one man. It's about what happens when rhetoric turns toxic, when anger becomes that person's identity, and when hate is allowed to become a political weapon. Because you got to remember, there was another political senator lady who got killed, her and her husband. They went in her home and shot and killed them and the dog. Come on now. When hate is allowed to become a political weapon, we need to come and figure this out, America. If you don't want to do it, then step down and let somebody else do the job. If America truly wants peace, and if America truly wants safety and equality in this country, we can't keep pretending these are isolated incidents. We can't. This is who we've become. We've always been like this. Like I say, this has been going on for generations, centuries. Nothing is going to change. And only by naming it, confronting it, and changing it can we ever move forward. Can we ever move forward? I think we can. I think we can. I think we can if we get the right people to do what they need to do if they're going to govern, and get the molasses out their asses and do what they need to do for all people, and stop this division and the valuing and then wanting each other to destroy each other. That's all I have for now, guys. Thank you for joining me on Let's Talk About It with Sunny Mo. Let's keep talking. Let's keep questioning. And let's keep pushing for a better tomorrow. Please, we got to do better. Until the next time, take care of yourselves and love each other. and have hope. And that's helping other people every day and holding on to positive energy. Have a sunny day.